Lori here. I'm here today to do my top 10 fantasy and science fiction reads that I'm most excited to read that are coming out in 2020. And I'm really excited to do this video, and I hope that you guys find some new books to add to your TBR because these are definitely high on mine. The first book I'm going to chat about actually comes out in January. It comes out January 7th, and it's called Nameless Queen by Rebecca McLaurin. I have to admit, this was a total cover request on NetGalley, but when I saw the cover, I was like, "Oh my god, that looks so cool!" The title seems really interesting too, but the premise definitely has it high on my TBR for January. And the summary is: one girl must make a name for herself or die trying. In this royal fantasy, where an unknown peasant becomes the ultimate ruler, but how long can she keep her crown if everyone wants her dead? Perfect for fans of Furyborn, Red Queen, and Everless. That sounds so good, and I really hope that I like it. And I'm actually going to add it to my TBR for January as my ebook. So, what I'm going to chat about is a fantasy novel that comes out February. I think it comes out February 4th, I think. February 4th, and it's called Bella Revolte by Lindsay Miller. I've actually read a book by Lindsay Miller in the past. I read Mask of Shadows. I liked it. I didn't love it. And I never wound up reading the second book in the series. But this one just sounds super interesting and super different. And I really like it so far. So I'm definitely going to add it to my TBR. And hopefully I like it a little bit more than I did Mask of Shadows. But this book follows two characters named Emily and Annette. And they're really unhappy with their lives. Emily wants to be trained to be a doctor. And Annette wants to be trained in magic. So this man comes to both of them and says, look, you could have your wildest dreams if you change lives. So they basically swap lives, and they're basically changed in the paths that they want to be in. But when a civil war comes, it kind of sets everything up on its head. It's an historical fiction novel. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like Lady's Guide to Petticoat and Piracy. It just sounds really interesting, and I'm definitely going to want to read it, so I figured I would add it to this list. And this cover, as you saw, is stunning. So yeah, sounds really, really cool, and I really hope that I get a chance to read it when it comes out in February. And I'll let you guys know my thoughts when I do. Book, I literally know the title, and I know when it comes out, but it's The Other Side of the Sky by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. It's another science fiction adventure novel, I am sure. I really like all their books that they write together. I like their individual books, so I'm sure this book will be high on my TBR when it comes out in September. Don't have a cover, don't even have a summary, just know the name, so sorry guys. But when I get more information, I'm sure it will pop up on my feed when I learn a little bit more. But right now, the cover sounds really interesting, and it comes out in September. Next book I'm going to chat about comes out in March, and it's Havenfall by Sarah Holland. I actually just finished her duology, and I'm really excited for this one. I read the summary for this book, but this is a summary that gives you way too much information, so I really don't want to give you guys too much information if you want to go into a book and not be spoiled. But I will say it follows this girl named Maddie. She lives and works she spends the summers with her aunt and her uncle, who's basically an innkeeper of this mystical inn, and some drama happens this summer when she's staying there after something happens with her mom. It sounds so cool. I love unique settings. I really love Sarah Holland's world building. If you do want the extensive summary, you can go on Amazon because it's all there. It's just a really in-depth it's like a very in-depth summary, and I feel like it gives away a little bit too much, and I personally don't like that, so I don't want to share a summary that detailed, and my summary wasn't that good either. So, but it does have to do with like a mystical in fantasy elements, dealing with the trauma of your past. So it sounds really interesting and really compelling. I actually got an arc of it at New York City Comic Con, and I'm probably going to dive into it probably relatively quickly in 2020. But yeah, that that is why that book is on this list, and I hope that I enjoy it whenever I get around to reading. The next book I'm going to talk about is Incendiary by Zordaya Cordova. I did talk about this on my top 10 reads of the year just because it sounds super interesting. And my arc actually has a picture, but there's not actually a picture on it. But here's the replacement picture for the moment. I said this in my other video. This is a witch-themed novel that is being published through Disney and involves witches and murder and all this other stuff. Again, I didn't want to get too much into the details, but it just sounded really interesting and really cool. And it comes out in April, and I cannot wait to read it. I actually do have it, so I might actually read it a little bit earlier, but really excited for it. The next book is also another book that I chatted about on my top reads of the year, and it is The Queen's Assassin by Melissa De La. I was actually lucky enough to get a copy of this at New York City Comic Con. It's another political court intrigue novel that follows two characters, Cal and Shadow, and their lives become interconnected when they're caught up in this conspiracy. It's a political intrigue novel. It involves assassins, princesses, and people going outside of their normal roles, which I think is really interesting. And I've been reading a lot of like court intrigue novels recently, and I've been really enjoying them. This book comes out in February, and I really am curious to read it. I've had some mixed feelings about Melissa De La Cruz's writing, but I'm willing to give it another chance. And who doesn't love assassins? I know that I do. Reading about them anyway. This is another book that I saw at New York City Comic Con but didn't grab, and it's called The King's Questioner by Nikki Katz. I'm just going to read you guys the abridged summary and then tell you guys like about it because it just sounds really, really cool. And it comes out January 14th. So it comes out pretty quick in 2020. But it's from Nikki Kaz, the author of Midnight Dance, comes The Queen's Questioner, an epic YA fantasy featuring royal drama, dark magic, and secrets that could topple a kingdom. And it follows a male lead, which I really love seeing in YA novels. So it follows this guy named Kalen. And he is like a mental pickpocket. He can access people's memories and secrets by touch. His skill make him a perfect questioner to the king. He spends his days interrogating prisoner of the crown. But when his childhood friend Prince Darren falls into a sudden coma, the king begs Kaelin to intervene by accessing Searcher's mind. Kaelin saves his life and uncovers a terrifying secret. The prince has a sister banished long ago, and she is the key to the destruction or survival of the kingdom. But with the help of Citrus and a silver-haired thief named Luna, Kaelin must find the princess and bring her home, or risk deaths at the hands of his king. Sounds right up my alley. I really hope that I get to read this in early January. And I may actually just buy it on my Kindle because I do have a couple of gift cards. So definitely high on my list for early January. Next book I'm going to chat about is All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. And I did get a copy of this at New York City Comic Con. So the cover is stunning. Mermaid inspired novel with a pirate twist about a girl who's like an animator, and that's like her job. She's supposed to be able to reanimate souls, and that is how like that's one of the highest jobs in her kingdom. She's basically like the princess, but when something goes wrong, she has to run away from her Thames. She becomes interlaced with a pirate, and drama, I'm sure, ensues. But it sounds really interesting, and I love under the water novels, like sea-based novels. I read To Kill a Kingdom and Daughter of a Pirate Queen in the past couple of years, and I really enjoyed them. And it's been a while since I read another mermaid-themed novel. The summary was not very good, but if you want more information, always go to Goodreads because they do the summaries way better than I do. And I don't like to give away too much information in my summaries in case people want to go into a story blind. But mermaid novel with a pirate twist sounds right up my alley. The next book is one that I'm super excited about, and it's by Adam Silvera, and it's his fantasy debut called Infinity Sun. This is one of the only authors that I legit have a joke with that I get every single one of his arcs signed to me, and I did get an arc of this at New York City Comic Con. But it's his first foray into fantasy, and I'm really excited for it. Basically about these two brothers, and they're basically spellwalkers, which I think means that they can go into people's minds and cast magic. Might have misunderstood it, but I know that they're on the brink of war. It's set in New York City, a magical take on it. It sounds really interesting. It comes out in early January. I think it comes out January 14th. And I hope that I like it as much as the summary seems I might because it seems right up my alley. And as I said before, I love books that have a male lead because I don't see it nearly enough in my reading. And the last book I'm going to chat about in this video is called Seven Deadly Shadows, and it also comes out in January. This is another book that I picked up from New York City Comic Con, specifically from Epic Reads, and I'm just going to read you guys the blurb because when I saw it, I'm like, oh my god, I need this book. This is a thrilling YA retelling of the Kuvsh's Seven Samurai featuring a girl tasked with saving the world from eternal darkness, perfect for fans of Six of Crows and Mary Lou. I love this cover. As you guys saw, it's so pretty. I do have an arc of this. I really hope to get to read it in early January. I actually planned on reading it in December, but that just did not happen. But I'm really excited for it. So these are all of the books that are on my TBR or my fantasy or science fiction TBR for 2020. I'm sure others will come up throughout the year, but these are the ones that really have piqued my interest. And there are a couple of other novels that I talked about in my other couple of videos, like Of Curses and Kisses by Sanaya Manon, Kingdom of Black by Mary Lou, and Where Dreams Descend by Janelle Angelis. So those are in my top reads of the year that I already talked about, but they are also fantasy novels, so I did want to mention them in this video. But let me know what are some of the top science fiction or fantasy novels that are high on your TBR for 2020, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow for another video. Bye!